Okay, so we've started recording here. The first thing I want to do very quickly is just point out that under the character creation guidelines, under step 7, you should be able to see table 50. Table 50 is also found in the player's handbook. You can put it on your hotbar, you can memorize whatever parts of it you need to, but it's relevant in the fact that it shows you the weight capacity and the volume capacity for things like backpacks and belt pouches and large sacks and small sacks. So make sure that you are aware of that so you don't try to overstuff such a thing, or you don't try to tell me that surely I can put 40 pounds of grain in a large belt pouch when it really can only hold 8 pounds, or the dimensions of 6 inches by 8 inches by 2 inches, which of course would not be 40 pounds by any stretch of the imagination. Just wanted to put that out there for everybody. So the next thing we're going to talk about here is we're going to talk about equipping weapons as weapon proficiencies. If you drag the weapon itself from the items into your weapon proficiencies under your skills tab, it will link it to any weapon that is in your inventory that has the same base name. So I just drug dagger, and when I left click on the cog, I'm now equipping my dagger. There's already a longsword in my inventory, and there's already a longsword here. The character we're looking at here is Ernie, the big cat lad. He's a Myrmidian specialist in longsword and in spear because he's a Myrmidian and he gets 2 weapon specializations. We're going to go ahead and equip longsword for Ernie. We're going to go ahead and equip his spear. There's 2 versions of spear. That's because it can be thrown or it can be used in melee. This is a normal spear. It's not a 2-handed long spear or anything like that. But you'll notice now that all the weapons show as being proficient. Now, if I go back and I unequip dagger, you will have a look at the weapons tab here, and you will notice that my dagger attack bonus is much less than what it was. That's because I'm not proficient in the weapon until I equip the proficiency. So equipping the proficiency for dagger again, you will notice that my attack bonus goes back up to 3, +1 dagger, Ernie's strength, and the magical bonus of the dagger, or what bring it to 3. It's a +1 dagger. He has a +1 bonus from, or a +2 bonus from his strength. So therefore, even when he's not proficient with a melee weapon, he still ends up with a +1. Nonetheless, you've now seen how you can equip the weapon proficiencies. You may have to go back and watch it because I'm probably talking a bit fast here. I want to talk about inventory. One of the things that I do personally for inventory is I create 2 extra categories. One of them is called carried, and one of them is called worn. I use these to store certain things that you're wearing or carrying. I know other people who create 3 or 4 multiple categories. Some of them say weapons or left-handed weapons or right-handed weapons, all of those kinds of things. It doesn't really matter whether you create the extra categories or not. You just have to make sure that you know where everything is stored. So I'm going to start with everything that is worn by my character. You'll notice I just put my cursor there. I hit Control A and then copied it with Control C. And I'm going to go to backpack, which is being worn. My boots of the north, which are being worn. My belt, which is being worn. My cloak is obviously being worn. My helmet is obviously being worn. My plate mail is obviously being worn. My ring of jumping is obviously being worn. And my weapon hanger is being worn around the back because that's where you would hang like a large weapon like the spear, which is what that is for. Now, what's carried? Let's see what's being carried. I think the only thing that's going to be carried for Ernie is probably his shield. You can place your shield up under your backpack, but it creates an issue with arm movement that will cause attack penalties for melee and missile weapons, but it does give you more back protection, because you've got your shield on your back there. You have to figure out where you're going to be equipping your shield. If you put it under your backpack, then it will take you at least a round, possibly longer, to actually take off your shield and get it ready. If you're loosely carrying your shield in your offhand, then if you are surprised, you don't get the shield benefit because you're not using it to defend yourself, but at least it is already in your hand. Back to what I was saying, though. The shield is the only thing that Ernie is carrying. So that means that I've got a lot of other things that are probably stored in my backpack or on my belt or in my belt pouch. So we will start with things that are in my backpack. My bedroll, actually on top of my backpack, but there's not much of a difference there. My flint and steel. I'm not going to put my potions there. I'll put my potions in one of my belt pouches. My 4 days rations. My 50-foot rope. My 4 torches. My water skin. That's probably everything that would be in my backpack at the moment. Now my belt pouch is going to be on my belt. That's why it's called a belt pouch. If you have bandoliers or any other kinds of carrying, things, a bandolier, whatever you have that might be carrying multiple darts or daggers or something, obviously that would be strapped around you, not on your belt. But Ernie doesn't have those things, so we're going to see what is in his large belt pouch. We're going to put our potions. I think that's the only thing that would make sense right now for us to put in our potion. You'll also notice I'm putting my knife sheath in my belt. We could put a knife sheath in our boots. There is a such thing as a wrist sheath. Generally, rogues are the only ones that have initial access to that, but wrist sheaths obviously go on your wrist, and you could put your daggers in your wrist sheath if you were, so inclined to do so and had wrist sheaths. Nothing else I think is really going to be in my large belt pouch. Let's see what might be in my small belt pouch. Probably just my coins. It doesn't make sense for me to put much else in my small belt pouch right now. I don't have a whole lot of spell components or anything. Ernie is a fighter. I misspelled backpack. My longsword should be in my sword scabbard. My sword scabbard should be on my belt. My spear +1 should be in my large weapon hanger or my weapon hanger, because it's not a long spear, it's just a normal spear. And my weapon hanger is worn. Okay, so we're good with that. I think we're not missing anything now. I think everything is sorted properly. Oh, my small belt pouch needs to be on the belt. What else are we looking at? Okay, so here's the reason for doing this. Well, it's one of the reasons. Let's say you end up wanting to drop your backpack because you have too much weight, or it's dragging you down, or something has grabbed a hold of it and you're not able to really break free, but you might be able to slip out of your backpack, right? You'll notice right now that Ernie is carrying 123 pounds. Now, if I have everything listed in my backpack, I can just do this and drop everything that happens to be in my backpack, because it will disappear all at once. And I will show you the weight right now. 81 pounds, because everything from my backpack has, disappeared. Now, of course, we can re-equip it very quickly. That's not much of an issue. This allows for you to quickly drop items, but it also allows for us to keep track of what may be inside something. If you fail your saving throw versus magical fire, fireballs, for example. Your items, are exposed to magical fire in the same case when you fail your saving throw. So they might be ruined. If you fall, they might suffer impact damage, and you would need to know everything that's in that area. So you need to keep your inventory organized. You just need to keep it organized in a way that's clear and concise for you, that you can readily explain to me, and that I can visibly see without an explanation, at least once you've explained it one time. I shouldn't have to have you explain it multiple times to me. I should be able to see on your character sheet where things are, so that I, if I want to take them from you, if there's a reason for them to be broken or damaged, I know what else may be attached to them, etc. So don't take issue with me asking you to do this. This just has to be done. You keep track of it in game. It's not too much of an issue. While we're speaking of equipment, if you drag from the far left hand side, which in this theme, it's a red square with a silhouetted dragon in it. If you drag from there to the party sheet, the item will go from your inventory to the party sheet. You can also drag it straight back and it will disappear, but when you drag it back, you have to re-equip it to where it should be. Our next video will focus a little bit more on targeting. We'll use Ernie, the big cat. We'll use Ernie for our targeting and example character. But for now, this has shown you how to equip weapon proficiencies and how to handle your inventory. Thanks.